But I like to work with people where there's a little bit of resistance. I don't want to work with people who think my work's wonderful. I need that resistance. Hello, my name's William Raban, and I'm Professor of Film here at London College of Communication. And my time is split between doing my own filmmaking practice and supervising PhD students. My first film I made in 1970, so that's quite a long time ago. So to begin with, I was known as a landscape filmmaker. I did a lot of work in landscapes for Expanded Cinema. And Expanded Cinema was about breaking out of the constraints of the film frame and including performative elements within the projection, which could either be multi-screen, two or more screens working together simultaneously, or elements of live performance taking place within the projection. You can't engage with expanded cinema in the conventional sense of being a passive spectator. It requires active spectatorship. So that's basically what I was doing through the 70s. And then in the mid-80s, I made what has now come to be seen as a documentary feature film. It's a film about the River Thames and its histories. And that sort of led me in completely new directions. So I quit St. Martin's with the view that I would become a director and producer in television. But I found Channel 4 changed a lot at the end of the 80s. To begin with, it was really a very experimental broadcaster and encouraged a whole multiplicity of new voices that hadn't had access to television before. But by the end of the 80s, it became pretty indistinguishable from any of the other terrestrial broadcasters in the UK. So, somewhat disillusioned, I realized I'd made a mistake and went back to a more experimental kind of film practice, which is what I've continued to develop today. Well, I'm working on a film at the moment which is proving to be quite more difficult than I thought it might be for various reasons. It's called Lucky Haze. The name comes from the Lucky Kiga volcanic eruption in Iceland that took place in 1783. And my interest in this was that these ideas were developing at the time of there was a real fear, if you remember, about America having a war with North Korea, and with the new American president seen as a very dangerous new leader and talking in very strong language about taking on North Korea, or taking out North Korea. There was a real fear at that moment about nuclear conflict, and it occurred to me that despite the catastrophic damage of a preemptive nuclear strike, the biggest consequence would be irreparable damage to the Earth's atmosphere. And of course that linked in with these accounts that I was reading about the devastation caused by the volcano in Iceland in 1783, which led to a global death toll of up to 6 million people. So the idea for the film was that it would start with those historical accounts and then move towards what I see as the current global political crisis. I mean, one thing I feel very strongly about PhD supervision is that all of them are doing bespoke research. And I think it becomes very interesting. I'm now in a situation where I've got 7 PhD students. I'm conscious of the fact that what I'm trying to do here is build up a research culture within the subject. And the great thing is that those students are meeting and discussing amongst themselves outside the supervisory meetings. They might be doing very different kinds of work. You know, for me, the Screen Research Forum is that area where students can come together show their work, and discuss it really quite deeply, and learn from each other. And I think, if I'm being honest, hand on heart, I'd have to say I learn at least as much from my research students as they're ever going to learn from me. And I think that's right, because for me the ideal teaching is dialogical. It's got to be a conversation. There's got to be reciprocity there. Not that the teacher's somehow the expert. I think the research culture at London College of Communication is in a very good position at the moment. And as I hinted at earlier, I think we should be making the claim that we are a centre of excellence, a world centre of excellence for practice-based PhD research.